Welcome to CozySideAudio, where every story pulls you deeper. If you like the thrill, the mystery, and the chase, like, share, and subscribe before the next clue disappears.
CozySideAudio presents Don't Answer the Doorbell. Chapter 1. It started like everything Dumb and Dangerous does now online. The first video wasn't even that scary. Just a jittery clip posted at 3:12 a.m. by someone calling themselves at HollowJack33. It opened on a quiet street, all blacktop and fog. The person filming whispered into the mic, "Okay, so it's 3:03 and I'm doing it. Trick or treat, shadow sweet." Then a doorbell chime distorted, echoing and laughter before the clip cut off. Maren Quill had seen scarier things on TikTok filters. She scrolled past it, then scrolled back. Something about the way the doorbell echoed didn't sound right. It dragged, like it was being pulled through water. And the last second before it ended, just as the video pixelated, there was a shape in the doorway. A tall blur, barely humanoid. "Cheap AI edit," she muttered, chewing a cold French fry she'd stolen from her brother's plate. Internet's got too much time. Her younger brother Tobin, 12 and full of October energy, looked up from his candy sorting. "You saw the challenge, right? You ring a stranger's doorbell at 3 a.m. and say the thing." "The thing?" she echoed. "That's deep lore, Tobin." He grinned, mouth ringed with orange from cheese dust. "Come on, trick or treat, shadow sweet. Everyone's doing it. There's even a map of houses that already got marked." "Marked? Yeah, like if you ring the wrong door, a shadow follows you home." Maren raised an eyebrow. "So, vandalism plus trespassing plus insomnia equals a ghost problem. Cool trend." Tobin didn't notice the sarcasm. "You wouldn't get it. You're too old." "I'm 17, Tobin. That's not old." "It is on the internet." He went back to arranging his candy haul by color. The living room was still cluttered with fake cobwebs and paper bats from earlier that evening. The porch light outside still glowed orange against the misty dark, catching the slow drift of fallen leaves. Halloween had ended hours ago, but in their street, Linden Hollow Drive, the decorations stayed up for weeks. Maren's phone buzzed again. Another video, new hashtag, #ShadowSweetChallenge. She tapped it, another shaky clip, a group of teens whispering, laughing, daring each other. Then the chime again drawn out. Wrong. Like a bell rung underwater. The camera jolted, the image stuttered, and something dark crossed the lawn behind them. The video cut to static. She didn't mean to replay it. She just did. By midnight, the tag had exploded. Compilations, reaction videos, fake explainers with spooky synth music. Every few posts, someone added, "Don't answer the doorbell," in the comments. That line stuck with her. She didn't know why. She was lying on her bed, lights off except for her phone's glow. The house creaked with that soft, post-Halloween quiet wind brushing the gutters. A dog barking down the block. Then, from outside, ding-dong. She froze. It was probably nothing the wind or a glitch in the smart doorbell. Still, her heart thudded hard in her chest. She checked the time. 12:57 a.m. "Not 3, she whispered. "Nice try, ghost algorithm." She rolled over, pretending it hadn't happened. The chime didn't come again. The next day, the school cafeteria buzzed with the challenge. Eloy Finch was already on it, of course. He sat on the lunch table, laptop open, filming himself like he was in a found footage movie. "So here's the theory," he said, sweeping his hands dramatically. "The shadow sweet thing is a ritual game. Ring the doorbell at 3, say the phrase, and it marks you. But here's the kicker. It only works if the house you pick has no porch light. That's the invitation rule." "Is that from Reddit or your brain?" Maren asked, dropping her tray beside him. "Reddit, but my brain improved it." Rowan Vale, her best friend since forever, snorted from across the table. "Improved it how? By adding big words like a ritual?" Eloy flipped his hair. "By understanding aesthetics, my friend." Rowan leaned back in his chair, smirking. "So you're saying if I ring a dark house at 3 a.m. and say the magic words, I'll get, what, haunted by a moody shadow influencer?" "Or you'll get views," Eloy said. "The last guy's clip hit 500,000 before it got pulled." "Pulled by who?" Maren asked. Eloy shrugged. "That's the weird part. The videos vanish after a day or two. Accounts wiped. Like deleted from the back end. Internet's never that clean." Maren rolled her eyes. Or people realize trespassing at 3 a.m. isn't worth getting arrested for? Maybe, Eloy said, grinning. But what if it's real? Then the ghosts got great marketing. Rowan laughed. You should try it, Mar. Be the first one from Linden Hollow to survive the Shadow Suite. I'll pass, she said, stabbing a fry. Some of us like sleeping through the night. But that night, when her phone lit up again, new message from the group chat Night Owls, she hesitated before opening it. Rowan, bored. Eloy, found the map. Junia, no, we're not doing this. Rowan, it's just a doorbell, LOL. LOI, meet me Ridgewood cul-de-sac, 245. Maren, you're idiots. Eloy, then come supervise. Oh, voice of reason. She typed, fine, but I'm not saying the thing, and hit send before she could think twice. Outside, a streetlight flickered, and for a split second, her shadow stretched across the ceiling like it was reaching for her. Ridgewood cul-de-sac was the kind of quiet that felt staged. All the houses identical beige siding, small porches, plastic pumpkins still deflating by the steps. The air was cold enough to bite. Somewhere far off, a sprinkler hissed. Eloy was already filming when Maren pulled up. His breath fogged the camera lens. Night Owls present, the Shadow Suite Challenge, live from suburban mediocrity. Rowan leaned against his car, hoodie up. I give this 10 minutes before we get chased off by someone's dad. Junia Pike was last to arrive, clutching her oversized sweater like armor. I hate this, she said. If someone's home, we're going to look insane. Eloy waved a flashlight like a wand. Perfect. Authentic fear vibes. They picked a house that looked dark porch light out, no car in the drive. Its windows reflected the streetlight behind them, blank and empty. Okay, Rowan said. Who's doing it? Maren sighed. Let's just get this over with. She stepped forward, feeling the crunch of leaves under her shoes. The air felt thicker here, like it didn't want to move. She pressed the doorbell. Ding dong? The sound came out warped, like a recording slowing down. Rowan laughed quietly. Nice glitchy bell. Real spooky. Eloy whispered, Say it. Say it. Maren rolled her eyes and said it fast to get it over with. Trick or treat, Shadow Suite. The words came out colder than she meant, like her breath frosted them. Silence. Then the chime sounded again. No one touched the button. The same drawn-out tone, but this time from inside the house. Eloy's camera flickered. Okay, that's weird. Rowan stepped back. You sure there's nobody home? Junia's eyes were wide. Maybe we should go. No lights came on, no footsteps, just the hum of streetlights and a faint scraping noise from behind the door like nails dragging wood. Wind, Maren said, voice thin. Old house. They started to walk back to the car. Then ding-dong. The bell rang a third time. They froze. Eloy whispered, I didn't press it. Junia turned around slowly. Then who? Across the street, under another porch light, a tall figure stood. Not moving, not watching, just there. The light flickered, and it was gone. They didn't talk much on the drive home. Eloy replayed his footage, complaining the whole time that the camera glitched during the best part. Rowan kept glancing in the mirrors, laughing nervously about how they'd probably just seen a neighbor. Junia sat in the back, silent, hugging her knees. Maren drove. Her fingers were stiff on the wheel. At one red light, she thought she saw something behind them, a long, thin shadow trailing the car's brake lights, moving even when the vehicle was still. When she blinked, it was gone. Back home, she crept upstairs without waking anyone. The house was silent again. She changed, climbed into bed, and tried to convince herself it had been nothing. Just kids, just a prank, just a doorbell. Her phone buzzed once, lighting the dark. A new notification. Video uploaded at HollowJack33 tagged you. She didn't remember giving him her handle. The clip showed 4 figures on a porch, her and her friends. But the camera angle wasn't Eloy's. It was from behind them, as if someone was standing in the yard, filming. At the end, as she turned to leave, the video zoomed in on her shadow. It moved a second after she did. She deleted the app, threw her phone across the room. Outside, the wind rattled the trees. Then, faintly, through the walls, ding-dong. Chapter 2. Maren told herself she wouldn't check her phone. She told herself again when she brushed her teeth, when she turned off the light, when she saw her reflection blink half a second late in the bathroom mirror. She still checked. The app she deleted had somehow reinstalled itself overnight. Its icon pulsed faintly, not lit, not animated, just different. A darker hue, like the black was deeper than it should be. She tapped it before she could stop herself. The video was gone. The entire account at HoloJack33 had vanished again, just like Eloy said they all did. Still, her profile now showed a single follower. No username. Just a black circle for an avatar. Morning in Linden Hollow looked normal again. Sunlight filtered through leafless maples, sprinklers hissed over tidy lawns, and the smell of burnt pumpkin from a neighbor's trash can gave the air that end-of-October tang. Rowan was leaning against her locker before first bell, holding a paper cup of coffee like he'd been awake since the Stone Age. "So, about last night," he said. Maren raised a brow. "You mean our brush with the paranormal, or your driving playlist that could wake the dead?" He smirked. "You saw that, right? That thing across the street? Probably a coat rack. In someone's yard." She shut her locker. "Rowan, it was foggy. We were tired, and Eli was making found footage faces at his camera. There's your explanation." He didn't look convinced. "Then how do you explain this?" He held up his phone. The lock screen was black, not dark, but black like a hole. He tapped it, and for a flicker of a moment, the faint outline of something long and human-shaped reflected in the glass. Then it was gone. "Maybe your wallpaper's cursed," she said, trying to sound bored. He grinned, but his eyes were uncertain. "Cool. I'll market it." They both jumped when the first bell rang. The sound seemed louder than usual, echoing through the hallway longer than it should. By lunch, everyone was talking about the challenge. 2 kids from neighboring Shadewood High had gone viral after posting a 3 a.m. double dare. In the video, they knocked on the door of an abandoned duplex. They laughed until one turned around and screamed. The video cut to static. "Fake," Eloy said, scrolling. "Classic edit. Probably paid actors." Junia sat across from him, pushing her apple slices into geometric patterns. "You can see something in the reflection," she whispered. Eloy zoomed in on the window. There was, indeed, a shape taller than both kids, stretching out like melted ink. Maren swallowed. Filters. Everything's filters. "Sure," Rowan said, "but how do you filter this?" He turned his wrist. A faint, dark smudge trailed from under his sleeve like he'd brushed against soot. "Dude, what's that?" Aloy asked. "Don't know. Thought it was grease. It doesn't wash off." Maren reached out to touch it, but Rowan pulled back fast. "Don't. Just in case." Junia's voice was small. "I heard it last night, too." Everyone looked at her. "The doorbell," she said. "At exactly 3. I checked my clock." Maren forced a laugh. "Dream." "I wasn't asleep," Junia said. "It rang twice, then the porch light came on by itself." Eloy grinned nervously. "Guess the ghost liked your curb appeal." But no one laughed. That night, the wind carried the smell of rain. The streetlights flickered, and somewhere down the block, a dog barked like it had seen something it shouldn't. Maren sat cross-legged on her bed, laptop open, trying to convince herself the Hash Shadow Suite challenge was a stunt. There had to be a marketing company behind it. Some low-budget horror promo, maybe an indie film. The problem was, she couldn't find a single source. Every search led to broken links, blank videos, or error 404 pages with static backgrounds. Then her laptop screen flickered. For half a second, the reflection in the black glass looked like someone standing behind her. She spun around. Nothing. Her phone buzzed. Eloy. "Yo, come outside?" Maren. "It's raining." Eloy. 3 a.m. experiment. Scientific. Maren. "You're insane." Eloy. "Rowan's already here." Of course he was. She sighed, pulled on her hoodie, and slipped downstairs. The digital clock on the microwave read 2:58 as she passed the kitchen. They met by the edge of the cul-de-sac again. Eloy had his camera, naturally. Rowan leaned against his car, hood up, eyes shadowed. Junia stood beside them, barefoot in the wet grass. "Couldn't sleep," she said quietly. "My room kept whispering." Eloy grinned nervously. "Perfect. Authentic sleep-deprived fear energy." Maren folded her arms. "So what's the experiment this time? We already proved the bell works." "Yeah," Rowan said, "but last night wasn't 3 a.m. exactly. Maybe the timing's the key. Or maybe you're both dumb." Eloy turned the camera on. For science. The street was still. Even the wind had stopped. It felt like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. "Okay," he whispered. "House number 13. Perfectly spooky." The house loomed at the end of the street, pale siding, dead ivy crawling up the porch, a jack-o'-lantern still sitting by the step, its grin sagging with rot. Maren felt her skin crawl. "That thing's been there since last Halloween." Rowan stepped up to the doorbell. "Then it's traditional." He pressed the button. Ding-dong. The sound stretched again, slower, lower, vibrating in their chests. Junia flinched. "Let's go." Rowan glanced back. "Maybe it's broken." Then faintly from inside, ding-dong. Same tone. Answering back. The camera flickered. Eloy cursed, tapping the screen. "It's glitching again." The porch light blinked on, flooding them in cold yellow. In that light, for a single heartbeat, their shadows looked wrong too long, bending toward the door like they wanted to get in. "Rowan," Maren whispered, "move." He stepped back. The door creaked, just an inch, then another. "Maybe it's the wind," Eloy said, though the night was perfectly still. The door opened halfway, showing only darkness inside. From that darkness came a voice, faint, sing-song, like a child repeating a rhyme they didn't understand. "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." Junia screamed. Eloy dropped his camera. It hit the porch and kept recording sideways, grainy, capturing 4 sets of legs stumbling backward. The door slammed shut hard enough to shake the frame. Maren grabbed the camera, shoved it in her pocket, and ran. None of them looked back until they reached the car. They didn't speak on the way home. When Rowan pulled into her driveway, he stared at her a moment. "You heard it too, right?" She nodded. He exhaled slowly. "Okay, so we're either in a horror movie or an elaborate prank." "Which is worse?" He didn't answer. When she got inside, the house was silent. Her parents asleep, the porch light still glowing faintly through the curtains. She checked the clock. 3:19 a.m. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown contact. "Trick or treat?" Maren. "Who is this?" Unknown. Shadow Sweet. She dropped the phone. It buzzed once more, screen lighting up this time showing a still image from Eloy's camera feed. The porch, empty. Then a new frame appeared, the same shot, but now with a tall, dark silhouette standing at her own front door. Maren backed away from the window. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She peeked through the curtain. The porch was empty. The wind picked up again, stirring the dead leaves. She tried to laugh, tell herself Eloy was pranking her, but then the doorbell rang. Not once. 3 times. Ding-dong. 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 Slow. Deliberate. She couldn't move. Somewhere upstairs, her little brother's voice broke the silence. "Maren, someone's at the door." Chapter 3. Maren didn't open the door. She stood frozen halfway down the stairs, heart pounding against her ribs, watching the front door glow faintly under the porch light. 3 chimes still echoed in her head, each one slower, lower, like the doorbell had sunk into her bones. "Maren?" Tobin's small voice came again from the landing above. "Someone's outside." "Don't," she whispered, holding a hand up. "Stay there." But when she turned back to the door, the porch was empty. No movement, no footsteps retreating down the walk, just a scattering of leaves swirling in the wind. She forced herself to check the peephole. Nothing. Just darkness that felt thicker than it should be. The moment she turned away, her phone buzzed again. A message from Eloy. "Eloy, you guys okay? My footage is gone. Like deleted gone." Maren, "Don't answer the doorbell." Eloy, "What?" She dropped her phone on the counter, breathing hard. The chime hadn't sounded again, but it felt like the air in the house was listening. She double-checked every lock, turned off the porch light, and went back upstairs. Tobin was standing in his doorway, clutching his blanket. "There was someone," he said. "He had a mask on." Maren's skin prickled. "What kind of mask?" He frowned, thinking. Not a mask, maybe? Like his face was missing? By morning, it was easy to pretend none of it had happened, except for one thing. The doorbell didn't work anymore. No sound, no chime, just silence when she pressed it like the circuit had been cut. Her mom blamed a power surge. Her dad blamed those dumb internet pranks. But when an electrician came that afternoon, he stared at the panel for a long time before saying, "It's not broken, it's disconnected," like someone pulled it from the inside. At school, Rowan looked worse than she'd ever seen him pale, eyes ringed dark, one sleeve tugged low like he was hiding something. He dropped into the seat beside her in homeroom. "Did yours ring again last night?" She nodded slowly. "Yeah, same here, around 3:20. Eloy slid into the seat behind them, his usual energy gone. "My footage is toast. Everything from last night corrupted. Won't even open. I backed it up too." Junia wasn't there. "She texted she's sick," Rowan said. "Didn't sound like her though. Just a picture of her window?" Eloy frowned. "A picture." "Yeah, all fogged over. There was something written on it, 3 words. He opened his phone and showed them the photo. Written in the condensation were the words, "Trick or treat. No shadow sweet." Just that. Below it, the faint outline of a handprint pressed into the glass. Later that afternoon, the 4 of them met again in the park by the strip mall, their unofficial safe spot since freshman year. The sky was that kind of bleached autumn gray that looked like it could start snowing or raining or both. Eloy had printed out screenshots from old forum posts about the challenge. "Look at this," he said, spreading them on the picnic table. Someone posted the phrase 2 years ago on a ghost forum way before the video started. Same words, same dare. It got deleted within a day. Rowan squinted. "You printed ghost comments?" "I archived them," Eloy said defensively. "Anyway, check this. People said after they did it, weird stuff happened. Like shadows acting wrong." "Define wrong," Maren said. Eloy flipped a page. One guy said his reflection stopped sinking. Another said his dog wouldn't go near his door after he rang it. A girl posted that her shadow started showing up in other people's photos before she did. Rowan scoffed, but Maren noticed his hands trembling. Junia finally arrived, pale and jumpy. Her hair was damp, like she'd walked through fog. She sat without a word. Maren tried to smile. "Hey, Juness, you okay?" Junia's eyes flicked up. "I don't think it likes me." Eloy blinked. "It?" She nodded, staring at her hands. "Last night, it knocked on my window, from the outside. My room's on the 2nd floor." They all stared. "I tried to film it," she went on, voice small. "But my camera froze. When I looked again, there was a shadow standing across the street, just watching." Rowan rubbed his face. "Okay, no, this is getting too creepypasta. Maybe someone's messing with us?" "Who?" Maren asked. "I don't know, maybe that guy from the first video, or it's a whole channel stunt. Viral marketing, classic misdirection." Eloy shook his head. "Then why's my footage gone? Why'd the videos keep disappearing?" Junia's phone buzzed. She didn't touch it. On the screen, a text preview glowed from an unknown number. Shadow Sweet. That night, Maren dreamed she was back in the cul-de-sac. The air was syrup thick, every house dark, the same doorbell tone pulsing faintly under her skin. She turned toward the sound, and there across the street a silhouette waited under a flickering porch light. It didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, without sound, it tilted its head at her. The movement was wrong, too slow, too deliberate, like it was learning how to imitate curiosity. When she woke up, the room was still dark. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. New message, no contact name, just a video file. She hesitated, then played it. It was the same dream, the same cul-de-sac filmed from behind her. The shadow turned toward the camera this time and smiled. She dropped her phone and stumbled to the mirror. Her reflection stared back, pale and trembling. Then slowly it smiled too a second after she stopped. By morning it was worse. Every reflective surface in her room, the mirror, her phone, the window lagged just slightly. A half-second delay. Enough to notice. Enough to make her skin crawl. At breakfast, Tobin complained about seeing a tall man by the garage door again. "He was looking for you," he said casually, pouring cereal. Maren's spoon clattered to the table. "What?" Tobin blinked. "Said your name. Kinda. Like Maren. Like that." She almost dropped her bowl. Her mother didn't look up from her laptop. "Don't encourage your brother's ghost stories, honey." Rowan called that afternoon. "I think I'm losing it," he said. His voice was low, strained. I was brushing my teeth, and my reflection didn't stop when I did. It kept brushing. Then it grinned. Maren squeezed the phone. "You're not losing it. It's happening to me too." "Aloy says the videos might be acting as a link," Rowan muttered. "Like, every time someone watches, it strengthens it. Then delete them." I tried, they come back. In the background of his call, she heard it faint but unmistakable. Ding dong. She froze. "Rowan, was that—" "It's my door," he whispered. "I didn't—" The line went dead. By evening, Aloy showed up at her house, drenched from rain, face pale as paper. "You need to see this," he said, thrusting his camera at her. The screen showed their first night again the moment Maren said the words. But in this version, something else had changed. When she turned to leave, a fifth shadow walked among the four of them. It moved slower, heavier, and when the camera glitched, it was the only one still standing still. Aloy's voice shook. "I didn't edit that. It wasn't there before." Maren stared. "What does that mean?" Junia answered from the doorway, her voice hollow. "It means we're marked." That night, rain lashed the windows. The power flickered. Maren sat in her room, every light on, watching her reflection try to catch up. Outside, something scraped against the siding. Then came a single, slow knock on the front door. Tobin's voice drifted down the hall again, soft and distant. "Maren, the Candyman's here." Chapter 4. Morning came pale and wrong. The house felt heavier, quieter, as if the night had decided to stay behind. Maren's mother was already at the kitchen table, half dressed for work, typing on her laptop with the stiff rhythm of someone who hadn't slept. She looked up as Maren walked in. "Were you up late last night?" Maren froze mid-step. "No. Why?" "I heard knocking," her mom said. "Around 3. I almost went to the door, but something felt off." She forced a small laugh. "You kids and your spooky TikToks are rubbing off on me." Maren poured herself cereal to hide the tremor in her hands. "You didn't open it, right?" Her mom frowned. "Of course not. I'm not an idiot." Maren nodded, but the milk sloshed unevenly. Her reflection in the chrome toaster blinked a second too late. Later that day, Eloy texted, "ELOI. Got SMTA you need to see. Meet after school." They met at his place, a basement cluttered with ring lights, half-disassembled drones, and way too many Funko Pops. The glow of his computer monitors made everyone look ghostly. He already had the video queued up. "I pulled this off your mom's security cam," Eloy said. "Cloud backup, timestamp 3:07 a.m. He hit play. The feed showed the Quill family porch, rain-slick concrete, Halloween decorations swaying. Then, out of the static haze, something tall stepped into frame. Not a person. Not exactly. Just a solid silhouette, darker than the night around it. It didn't move, didn't sway. It just stood there, facing the door. After a few seconds, the doorbell light flickered once, but there was no sound. Then the figure tilted its head slightly, like it was listening to something inside. And as lightning flashed, they all saw it, the faint, glimmering outline of a smile. Eloy paused the video. "That's when your mom heard the knock." "Could be a trick," Rowan said automatically, but his voice didn't carry its usual bite. "Someone in a costume." Maren swallowed. "Then why does it look like it's part of the dark?" That evening, Eloy got an email. Sender, thesuite@nightmail.com. Subject, tell the story. Body, tell the story. Feed the dark. Every tongue that speaks my name becomes a shadow of its own. Attached, a still frame. The porch shot again, but zoomed close. The silhouette filled the whole screen. Its face, featureless, somehow managed to look like it was grinning straight at Eloy. He deleted the email instantly. 5 seconds later, it reappeared in his inbox. Unread. They met that night at the park again, sitting under the orange flicker of a dying streetlight. The wind pushed dead leaves around their shoes. Junia looked worse than the rest, eyes swollen, voice barely above a whisper. We need to go to the police? Police can't arrest a bad Wi-Fi connection, Rowan said. It's viral marketing. They want us scared, so we'll share the story. That's what the email means, feed the dark. Engagement. Views. It's all meta-horror. Eloy rubbed his temples. Then who's deleting the videos from my channel, Rowan? YouTube's algorithm? Or the ghost in my router? Stop calling it a ghost, Maren snapped. If it's real, it's not human. If it's fake, we're feeding it. Junia's eyes darted toward the street. I think it's already fed. They all turned. Across the road past the park fence, by the row of dark houses, a shape stood beneath a street lamp. Tall, still, featureless. The wind blew the trees. The figure didn't move. Its shadow stretched the wrong way, curving across the pavement like a crooked arm reaching toward them. Eloy whispered, Is it? The streetlight flickered out. When it came back, the figure was gone. They didn't speak much after that. Eloy biked home with his hoodie up. Rowan walked Maren halfway, making bad jokes just to hear any sound. Junia texted a simple, I hate this, before vanishing offline for the night. When Maren finally crawled into bed, she thought she saw movement outside her window, just a flicker, a shadow bending wrong. She pulled the curtain shut and told herself it was wind. But later, just before she drifted off, her phone buzzed. A text. No name. Tell the story. The message glowed for a few seconds, then slowly faded away, like the screen itself had breathed it out. Chapter 5. It started with the lights. Junia's bedroom lamp flickered once around midnight. Then again, then in a rhythm. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. Her room was a pale blue glow, the soft light from her string LEDs rippling like underwater fireflies. At first, she thought it was her imagination, or maybe a bad socket. But the flickering kept going. Short bursts, long pauses, repeating. She grabbed her phone and filmed it, half thinking she'd show Eloy and laugh it off in the morning. But as she watched the playback, something clicked. The pattern wasn't random. It was Morse code. She opened a translation site, heart-hammering, typed it in. The lights spelled one word. Junia, her name. And then, just before the bulb went out completely, one more flicker. Hello. Across town, Rowan Vale couldn't sleep. He kept hearing noises outside, leaves crunching, someone whispering. He'd checked twice already, found nothing but empty air and a raccoon eyeing his trash can. At 2:57 a.m., he gave up pretending he didn't hear it. A voice, soft, raspy, familiar. It was his own. Rowan. He froze, toothbrush still in hand. Outside, through the fogged bathroom window, a tall shadow leaned against his porch railhead, tilted, face lost to the dark. The voice came again. Rowan, open up, it's you. He backed away, heart racing. His reflection in the mirror looked scared, pale, then smiled when he didn't. At 3:03 a.m., the Quill house was silent except for the steady hum of the fridge. Maren was awake, scrolling news headlines about the challenge. Urban Dare or Digital Curse, #Shadow Sweet trend banned on TikTok. She didn't notice Tobin at first, standing in her doorway in his Batman pajamas. He had that dazed, sleep-drunk look kids get when they wake from a dream. Maren, he whispered. The Candyman came again. Her stomach dropped. What did you say? Tobin rubbed his eyes. He wanted to see your phone. He said he needs the light. Maren jumped out of bed. Where? Tobin pointed toward the window. She yanked the curtains back, nothing but the streetlight and the quiet shimmer of rain. But in the reflection on the glass, she swore she saw something tall standing just behind her. When she spun around, the room was empty. By morning, all four were in a group chat, trading panic like oxygen. Eloy, you guys are going to want to see this. Rowan, what now, ghost cam? Eloy, backup drive footage. It's not gone. It's changed. He sent a clip. It was from the night of the dare, them standing under the flickering porch light, laughing nervously. Except now, their shadows were wrong. Each one stretched long across the street, longer than it should be, and all of them seemed to twist in the same direction, toward the camera. Rowan typed, "That's impossible. There's only one light source." Eloy replied, "Exactly, which means something else cast them." Maren's message came through seconds later. "It's following us home." They met that afternoon, even though every part of them screamed don't. The overcast sky made the world look smaller, flatter, all the color drained out of their quiet suburb. They sat at the edge of the park, huddled under the half-dead maple where the leaves never seemed to fall right. Junia's eyes were red. "I can't stay in my house anymore," she said. "It's inside the lights. It spelled my name. My name." Rowan ran a hand through his hair. "Mine talks like me now. You ever hear your own voice coming from your yard? It's not something you forget." Eloy had his camera in his lap, turned off. "If this is real," he said quietly, "then it's not about the houses. It's about us. The dare marked us. The story's the bait." Maren nodded, thinking of Tobin's words. He said he needs the light. Maybe it's using us to spread. The videos, the texts, the way it keeps saying tell the story. Junia hugged herself. "So what do we do? Stop talking about it? Stop thinking about it?" Eloy gave a thin laugh. "Good luck with that." Rowan looked up suddenly, staring down the street. "What's that?" They followed his gaze. At the far end of the road, something tall stood in front of a house still, black, like a shadow with weight. It didn't move, didn't sway. But as the wind shifted, they saw its head tilt the same slow, awful tilt as before. Junia whispered, "It's watching." Eloy pulled out his phone to film. The screen stayed black. Then, for one single frame, a white message flickered over the video. "Come home." That night, none of them could sleep. Rowan left his bedroom light on. Junia sat awake, clutching her phone with the flashlight pointed at the door. Eloy tried to scrub the footage, but every time he deleted it, the file reappeared renamed, time-stamped 3:07 a.m. Maren sat at her desk, flipping through every note and video she had, trying to make sense of it. Every clue circled back to one place, the house where it started. The abandoned one. The one from the original dare post. The address had been in the caption, barely visible, almost hidden. She texted the group, "Meet me there tomorrow night. We end this." Rowan's reply came first. "You sure that's smart?" Maren, "No, but it's the only way to stop it." Eloy, "I'll bring the camera." Junia didn't reply for a long time. Then finally, "If we don't go, it comes anyway." The next night, under a cloud-thick moon, the four of them walked the old cul-de-sac where the first dare had been filmed. Every house was dark except one, the one at the end. The house that shouldn't have power still had a porch light glowing, dim and yellow. Maren stared at it, her breath fogging the air. She thought of the rule from the first post, the one that started everything. Ring the bell, say the words, don't look back. But she had a new rule now. Find it, face it, finish it. She took a step forward. Behind her, the others followed their shadows, long and thin under the dead street lamps, stretching toward the house that waited like an open mouth. Chapter 6. The cul-de-sac was dead quiet. Even the wind seemed to stop as Maren, Rowan, Junia, and Eloy stood in front of the house. No one said a word. The place looked like every ghost story ever told, about the suburb's white siding gone gray with mildew, porch boards sagging, plastic pumpkins faded to the color of old teeth. The porch light buzzed weakly, the bulb flickering in slow, steady intervals, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to anything alive. A single strip of police tape hung from the mailbox, brittle and half torn. The ink had faded, but they could still make out the word closed. Okay, Eloy muttered, adjusting his camera strap. So, anyone want to say this is a bad idea before we go in? Of course it's a bad idea, Rowan said, stepping onto the porch. The boards groaned beneath him. We just don't have better ones. Junia lingered at the curb. Something's wrong with the light. It's flickering in the same rhythm as my name did. She wasn't wrong. Short flash, pause. Long, short, Junia. Maren shivered. Let's just go. The faster we see whatever's inside, the faster we end this. The front door was unlocked. Eloy filmed as it swung inward with a sigh of stale air. Dust hung thick as fog. The faint scent of rot and rust filled the hall. They stepped inside, flashlights cutting across decades of cobwebs. Everywhere, faint traces of old Halloween decor, paper bats taped to the ceiling, a plastic skeleton slumped on a couch, one eye missing. But what stopped them cold was the sound. Ding-dong. The doorbell. Except it hadn't come from the front door. It echoed from inside the house. Rowan turned slowly. Please tell me that was one of your phones. Eloy shook his head. That was a real chime. Analog. Junia whispered, It's welcoming us. They moved deeper. The living room was stripped bare except for a half-deflated jack-o'-lantern balloon and a framed family photo turned face down. On the walls, faint outlines were pictures used to hang rectangles of cleaner paint surrounded by grime. And then they found it. At the end of the hall, under the staircase, a door stood half open, revealing a descending set of steps. The air that drifted up was cold and metallic. Rowan clicked on his flashlight. Basement? Junia hugged herself. Why is it always the basement? Maren went first. The basement looked like a shrine built by someone who had forgotten what they were worshipping. Doorbells lined the walls, dozens of them. Different makes, sizes, styles wired to nothing, each one polished like it had been handled recently. Some were antique brass, others plastic and cracked. A few still glowed faintly with LED rings. The wires ran together into a tangled knot that disappeared into the concrete floor. Eloy whispered, It's like someone collected them, like trophies. Rowan crouched by one. No power source. So how are they? Ding-dong. All four jumped. One of the doorbells, an old brass one near the floor, had chimed on its own. Then another. And another. Soon the basement was full of them ringing softly, like whispers overlapping. Junia pressed her hands over her ears. Make it stop. Maren spun toward the far wall and froze. There, scrawled across the peeling paint in what looked like a child's handwriting. Say the words, and they come. Below it, smeared fingerprints trailed down the wall. Small ones, like a child's. Eloy raised his camera, hands shaking. You're getting this right? Rowan said. But Eloy didn't answer. He was staring at the corner. At first, Maren thought it was just a shadow cast by their lights, but it didn't move when they did. It was darker than the rest, and it was standing upright. The doorbell stopped. Silence. Then a single, deliberate ding. The shape twitched. Maren grabbed Rowan's arm. Go. Now. They ran up the stairs, through the hall, across the porch. Outside, the air felt thin, sharp. The streetlight buzzed overhead, flickering like a dying signal. They didn't stop running until they hit the edge of the cul-de-sac. When they finally turned back, the porch light of the house was off. But something stood behind the front window, perfectly still, its head tilted just slightly, watching. Eloy bent over, gasping. Please tell me we all saw that. Yeah, Rowan said. We saw it. Junia's voice cracked. It wasn't just watching, it was counting. Counting what? Maren asked. Junia looked down at her trembling hands. Us. Back at home, Eloy uploaded the footage to his hard drive, hands shaking. The files blinked one after another as if something were syncing in real time. Then a folder appeared on its own. Title: The Suite. Inside were clips he hadn't filmed, static-filled shots of them walking into the house, turning, staring straight into the camera. In one, Maren's mouth moved, whispering something soundless. He turned the volume up to maximum, straining to hear. Through the static came a faint voice. Not Maren's. A child's. Trick or treat? Shadow sweet? Eloy slammed the laptop shut. Maren couldn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house sounded like the doorbell. Every shadow seemed too thick. At 3:07 a.m., her phone buzzed once on her nightstand. No caller ID, just one word. Counted. Chapter 7. Junia didn't come to school the next morning. At first, no one noticed. It was easy not to. Kids were bleary-eyed after a night of half-sleep and rumor. Everyone was still buzzing about the doorbell house. Someone on social media had leaked Eloy's short clip only 5 seconds long of the four of them stepping into the doorway, the flickering porch light above them, the sound of the ding-dong echoing faintly after they vanished into the dark. By lunch, half the school had seen it. Some thought it was fake. Some said it was marketing for a horror podcast. But Maren knew better. She hadn't slept. The message still glowed in her mind. A single word on her phone screen. Counted. When the bell rang at the end of the day, Rowan caught up with her outside by the bike racks. "Junia text you yet?" he asked. Maren shook her head. "I called, straight to voicemail. Her mom's number doesn't pick up either." Rowan frowned. "You think she's just sick?" "She's not sick. Something's wrong." He didn't argue. They both knew what he'd seen in that house. The shadow that counted them. They biked to Junia's street, a row of pale, cookie-cutter houses glowing orange in the dying October light. The air smelled like wet leaves and wood smoke, the kind of scent that usually made Maren feel safe. But now it just felt heavy. Watching. The closer they got to Junia's, the quieter everything seemed. Even the wind hushed when they reached her driveway. Her bike was still leaned against the porch railing. Her backpack sat beside the door, as if she dropped it mid-step. The front door was open an inch. "Maren," Rowan whispered, "we should call the cops." "We are the cops now," she said, and pushed the door open. The house was dark. Not lights off, dark curtains drawn, power dead, oxygen thin dark. Their shoes crunched over something on the floor, candy wrappers, a few scattered sugar corn kernels. The TV hummed static in the next room, faint and gray. "Junia," Maren called. No answer. They moved through the living room and stopped. Every mirror in the house was gone, removed. The hooks still hung empty on the walls where frames had been. Even the small vanity mirror in the hallway was missing. Rowan's voice was barely audible. "She said she saw something in the reflection last night." "When?" "She messaged me at 3:30, said, 'It's looking back from the glass.' I thought she was joking." Maren's stomach dropped. 3:30, the same time I got that text." They found Junia's phone in her bedroom, screen cracked. On the desk beside it, pages of notebook paper filled with scrawled words. "Don't answer the doorbell. Don't look in the mirror. Don't count." Each page more frantic than the last. And then the last one. "It wants to be seen." Maren's flashlight caught something under the bed, a shimmer, like metal. She crouched and reached. Her fingers brushed cold glass. She pulled out a small makeup mirror. Her heart stopped. The reflection wasn't her face. It was the empty house they'd visited, same wallpaper, same stairs. But now something stood in the doorway. Not just shadow, a figure with a smooth black mask that reflected nothing. Rowan grabbed the mirror and threw it against the wall. It shattered. A ringing filled the room, not from the mirror, not from a phone, but from everywhere. Ding dong? The doorbell. The one they hadn't touched. They ran downstairs, but the front door was wide open. The porch was empty. Rowan's breath came in ragged bursts. "You saw it, right? In the mirror?" Maren nodded. "It's like it's learning us. Every time we see it, it gets clearer." "Then we stop looking," he said. "We stop talking about it." A low creak came from the hallway behind them. Junia's voice, faint, warped, whispered, "Don't answer." They turned. She stood there, barefoot, eyes wide, her skin pale and gray as candle wax. "Junia?" Maren whispered. Junia smiled, but it wasn't right, too slow, too stretched. Behind her, the air seemed to ripple. Rowan grabbed Maren's hand. That's not her. The door slammed shut. The house groaned. The lights flickered once, twice, then stayed dead. When they came back on, Junia was gone. Just her shoes, standing neatly by the door. They burst outside, stumbling into the orange dusk. Neighbors peeked through blinds. A dog barked 3 streets away. Rowan bent over his knees, gasping. It took her. Maren looked at the house, at the dark windows reflecting nothing at all. No, she said. It marked her, and now it's marking us. Rowan turned toward her, eyes wide. How do you fight something that lives in the dark? She didn't answer, because at that moment both of their phones lit up in unison. Ding-dong the ringtone. Both screens read the same incoming message. From unknown, trick or treat, shadow sweet. 2 left to count. That night, Officer Teller knocked on Maren's door. He was tall, kind-eyed, with the worn patience of someone who'd seen too much weirdness and too few answers. He held his hat in one hand, the brim turning slowly in his fingers. Your friend Junia, he said. Her parents filed a report. Maren's mom hovered behind him, worried. They said she might have run away, Teller added. But I figured I'd ask if you knew anything. Maren's throat felt tight. No, she said. Nothing. Teller studied her face. You sure? Maren nodded. Positive. He gave her a small card. If you think of anything strange, call me, no matter how small. When he left, she shut the door and pressed her forehead to it. Her hands were shaking, because she'd heard it again faintly from the dark corners of the house. Ding-dong! This time, it didn't stop. At 3:03 a.m., her phone buzzed again. This time, no message, just a photo. Blurry. Taken from outside her house. It showed her bedroom window, her light on, and her silhouette sleeping. In the corner of the photo, half hidden by the bushes, stood a dark figure with a smooth mask. And beneath the photo, a single caption. 1 left to count. Chapter 8. Eloy Finch hadn't logged into his YouTube channel in a week. After what happened to Junia, he'd sworn off uploading. No thumbnails, no editing, no more ghost hunts, cryptid hunts, or creepypasta debunking. He'd even unplugged his PC. But at 2:57 a.m., his computer turned itself on. The monitor flared blue, then black, then static. Lines of distortion crawled across the screen like worms under glass. Then his channel banner appeared, Urban Legends Unboxed, followed by the familiar red notification dot. New upload, the sweet night footage, 3:07 a.m. Eloy blinked. He hadn't posted that. He didn't even have the files anymore, they'd been wiped. His stomach turned cold as he clicked the thumbnail. The video opened with darkness, a low, humming sound like breathing through wires. Then the picture steadied. A street. His street. The camera panned slowly toward his house. But it wasn't handheld. It was like the camera floated. The image crept closer, step by silent step, until it reached his front door. The lens tilted upward, catching his window where he slept. Then, from somewhere off-screen, a whisper. Trick or treat, shadow sweet. The camera turned just enough to catch a reflection in the glass. A tall, featureless figure stood where the camera should have been. And then the video ended. Posted at 3:07 a.m., exactly the time Junia's phone had last pinged. Eloy tore the power cord from the wall, heart hammering. He stumbled back from the desk, staring at the unplugged screen. The static didn't fade. It bloomed. The monitor pulsed once, and a faint image of his own face flickered in the glass. Only, it wasn't still. The reflection smiled when he didn't. He threw a blanket over the computer and ran downstairs, nearly tripping on his camera tripod. Outside, his phone buzzed. A notification? New comments on the sweet night footage. I saw it move. Is this ARG? Who's filming? It's behind you, burro. Eloy felt bile rise in his throat. The view count ticked up. 93, 217, 666. He dropped the phone on the kitchen counter like it burned. And from the living room, ding-dong, the sound of his own channel intro, the 2-tone chime he'd edited in years ago, echoing from somewhere upstairs. At 3 a.m. sharp, the same chime rang across town. Maren woke in a sweat, her phone glowing on her nightstand. The sound came from nowhere, and everywhere a perfect, polite ding-dong that made her blood run cold. She picked up the phone. No call, no message, just the home screen. Then the lock screen flickered, and a dark reflection moved where her face should have been. She turned off the phone and tossed it across the room. It landed face down. Still ringing. Rowan woke standing at his front door. He didn't remember getting up. His hand hovered over the knob, the metal cold under his fingertips. His breath fogged the glass. He blinked, disoriented, staring at his reflection in the window. For a heartbeat, it looked like his own face. Then it smiled. A quiet voice whispered from behind the door. "Come outside." He stumbled back. "Who's there?" Silence. Then a faint echo of his own voice answering. "You are?" Rowan clamped his hands over his ears, backing away. He didn't remember falling asleep again, but when he woke in the morning, the front door was open. His shoes were wet with dew. By the next evening, all three of their phones were playing the same sound at random, the doorbell. Sometimes faint, sometimes near. Once, when Maren and Rowan sat in Eloy's basement trying to figure out what to do, it rang from inside the wall. "Maybe it's a frequency thing," Eloy muttered, pacing. "Some kind of sonic trigger, like those ghost videos where—" "Eloy," Maren cut him off. "It's not an algorithm. It's hunting us." He swallowed. "I think it's using the channel." Rowan frowned. "What do you mean?" "It's feeding off clicks, attention. Every time someone watches, it gets stronger. Like Junia said, it wants to be seen. Maybe the camera's how it spreads." "So turn it off," Maren said. "I can't," Eloy whispered. "It's not on." They turned toward the computer. The monitor flickered to life. Live stream. Camera active. The screen showed the three of them standing in the room right now, but slightly delayed, like a bad mirror. And behind them, in the feed, a fourth figure stood near the basement door. Still, tall, featureless. Maren spun. Nothing there? When she turned back, the feed zoomed closer to her face, as if the lens had a mind of its own. Eloy lunged forward and slammed the laptop shut. The doorbell rang once, loud enough to make them all jump. Ding dong. They ditched their phones in the sink and poured water over them. Steam hissed from the circuits. Maren took a hammer to hers. The glass spiderwebbed under the first swing, then shattered completely. "There," she said, breathless. "No more doorbell." The room was quiet. For 10 seconds. Then, faintly from the basement window, ding dong. They froze. Rowan turned slowly toward the sound. Through the glass, across the street, stood a shape. A black silhouette under the flicker of a streetlight. It didn't move, didn't breathe. Just watched. Maren felt something inside her go very still, the same instinct you get when you realize something isn't pretending to be human anymore. The silhouette tilted its head. Once, the lights in the basement flickered. And on the wall, just above the shattered phones, the static image of the shadow appeared projected faintly, like the ghost of a screen. Then came the whisper, soft as a sigh. "Feed the dark." And every phone in the neighborhood rang at once. Chapter 9. Officer Brandt Teller had seen a lot of weird Halloweens. Dead prank calls, fake crime scenes, pumpkin vandalism that was normal for Ashcroft. Every October, something strange made the kids restless. But this was something else. 3 teenagers vanishing in 7 days. Videos appearing online hours after they were taken. And always the same phrase whispered somewhere in the background. "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." He poured another cup of gas station coffee and sat down at his cluttered desk. The precinct's fluorescents hummed like dying flies. In the corner, an old TV played a muted rerun of Halloween 3. He didn't look up. His eyes were on the old case file, one he hadn't opened in years. The front page was yellowed and smudged. Case hash 102983. Subject: Ethan Crow, male, age 13. Date of disappearance: October 31st, 1983. And below that, in blue pen, last seen ringing doorbells. Teller had been 9 years old then. He remembered the smell of the melted plastic of Halloween masks, the cold breath of November sneaking in early. He remembered the boy's mother screaming in the middle of Sycamore Street, shouting his name into the smoky air. The night after Ethan vanished, the house burned. No cause ever found, but the weird part was what they'd found after. A melted heap of brass and wiring, dozens of doorbells. The old cop who handled the scene said it looked like someone had collected them. Each bell connected to nothing, just wired into the walls like a nest of nerves. And at the center, one doorbell that didn't melt. It still worked. Every time someone walked past the evidence locker that week, it chimed. Ding dong. Now, 40 years later, Teller scrolled through Eloy Finch's cursed video on his department computer, the one that had gone viral overnight. The burned house was gone, long demolished, but somehow the video looked like it had been filmed there. Same window frames, same porch lamp. He clicked pause. The shadow figure filled the screen. In its chest, faint and flickering, a tiny glimmer of brass. Like a bell. Teller leaned back and exhaled. You've got to be kidding me. Meanwhile, across town, Maren, Rowan, and Eloy sat huddled in the Quill family garage. It was the only place left without working Wi-Fi or service. Candles burned low in mason jars, throwing uneven shadows on the walls. Maren's phone was smashed, Rowan's battery dead, and Eloy's laptop sat closed like a caged animal. The doorbell chime had followed them all day, sometimes faint, sometimes inside their heads. Maren looked exhausted. We can't just wait for it to stop. Rowan rubbed his temples. I vote we run. Like, change towns, fake names, no phones. It'll follow, Eloy muttered. Doesn't matter where we go. How do you know? He hesitated. Because someone already tried. They turned to him. Eloy swallowed. There's a forum. Old one. Found it while digging through archives. User named Bellkeeper83. He posted in 2009, said he'd stolen something from a burned house when he was a kid. A doorbell? Said it sings when it's hungry. He kept it in storage for years, but every Halloween it would ring. Then last year he said he'd sold it to a collector, guy named Randall Vec from the next town over. Let me guess, Rowan said. Vec doesn't answer emails. He doesn't have to, Eloy said, holding up a printed map. I found his address. Officer Teller knocked on Maren's door that evening, hat in hand, the same tired look in his eyes. I think I know what you're caught up in, he said quietly. Maren's mom hovered behind her, clearly nervous. Is this about Junia? Teller nodded. And about something that happened a long time ago. He told them the story. The boy, the house, the bells. When he finished, the house seemed to breathe differently, as if the air itself had shifted. Maren's fingers clenched around the doorknob. You said one bell survived. Yeah, it vanished from evidence decades ago. Rowan appeared behind her. What if someone found it? Teller frowned. If someone did, you stay away from them. Understand? The object's not just cursed, it's alive. It wants to be used. Every time you press that button, it's like... He stopped. A soft chime sounded from somewhere in the kitchen. Ding dong. Everyone froze. Maren's mom said, Is someone at the door? But Teller's face went white. That's not a doorbell I know. The sound came again. Muffled, but closer this time. Ding dong. From the television, dark and unplugged, the sound echoed faintly from within. Maren whispered, It's following us through the screens now. Teller exhaled, steady but shaken. If what you're saying is true, the only way to end it is to find the source. Destroy it. Maren met his eyes. We already have an address. They drove out that night. A fog hung over the next town like smoke, thick and low. The collector's property sat at the end of a dead-end road, an old colonial surrounded by dead oak trees, Halloween decorations frozen mid-rot, plastic skeletons slumped in the yard, a single porch light burned orange. They parked 2 houses away and walked the rest on foot. The air smelled faintly of burnt sugar. Eloy carried his camera again, though it stayed off. Just in case, he muttered. Maren looked at him. If this thing wants attention, don't give it more. He hesitated, then nodded. They reached the front steps. The porch was warped, creaking under their weight. Inside, faint music played an old record, warped and slow. When Rowan pushed the door, it opened without resistance. The house was empty. Empty, but ringing. The sound came from everywhere. High, sweet chimes overlapping like 1,000 mismatched clocks. The walls were lined with doorbells. Not modern ones. Old brass, cracked porcelain, wooden plaques, each with a tiny button and a strip of rusted wire disappearing into the plaster. Maren's flashlight beam swept across the hall. The doorbells seemed to pulse, their metal faces faintly reflecting her light. Eloy whispered, "They're all wired together." Rowan swallowed. To what? They followed the wires down a narrow hall that opened into a basement stairwell. The chimes grew louder, faster, almost frantic. At the bottom of the stairs was a single pedestal, and on it, under a cracked glass dome, sat a doorbell, unlike the rest ornate, golden, with a carved inscription that read, "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." It pulsed faintly in rhythm with their heartbeats. Maren whispered, "That's it." Eloy stepped closer. The first bell. The chimes on the walls began to ring in unison. Ding-dong, 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 faster and faster, until it became a solid, trembling note. Rowan shouted, "It knows we're here!" The lights flickered. For a moment, their shadows stretched unnaturally long and began to move on their own. Eloy pointed his flashlight upward. "Oh, God!" The shadows peeled from the walls like smoke. Dozens of black silhouettes now filled the room. Faint human shapes, all standing silently around the pedestal. At the center, one shape stood taller, its face a smooth, perfect void. The suite. It raised a single finger to the doorbell. Pressed. Ding-dong! The sound cut the air like a knife. Then darkness. When the lights came back, the shapes were gone. So was the golden bell. Back outside, the group gasped for air under the streetlight, trembling. "It took it," Rowan said. "No," Maren whispered. "We woke it." Behind them, the house's windows flickered with dim light, hundreds of tiny reflections that almost looked like faces staring out. Officer Teller's voice echoed in Maren's head. "Once it answers the door, you can't leave." She turned to Eloy. "We're out of time." He nodded. "Then we end it." The wind stirred the trees, carrying a sound faint but distinct. Ding-dong. This time from inside Maren's pocket. She reached in, hand trembling. Her shattered phone dead. For days glowed one last time. New message. The door is open. Chapter 10. Rowan didn't remember driving home. 1 minute, they were at the house, that graveyard of bells, and the next, he was sitting in his bedroom, staring at his reflection. He didn't remember getting there, but his hands were still shaking. Dirt under his fingernails. The faint metallic smell of brass on his skin. The reflection looked wrong. Not monstrous, just slightly off. The way his shoulders didn't rise when he breathed. The way his pupils seemed to linger a half-second too long before catching up. The way, every few moments, his reflection's mouth twitched as if it were trying to speak. He shut off the light. Maren hadn't slept. She sat by her window, staring out at the cul-de-sac. The neighborhood looked normal Halloween decorations, still half up, half forgotten. A fog drifted through the streetlights, soft as breath. But every now and then, she swore she saw something move just past the hedges. Not a person, a shadow that didn't quite match the angle of the light. She texted Rowan, "You okay?" No response. She tried again. "It's not over. Something's still moving." The typing bubble appeared for half a second, then vanished. Eloy hadn't answered her calls either. His messages kept failing to send. She thought about what Teller said. "Once it answers the door, you can't leave." The suite had taken the bell, but that didn't mean it was gone. It just meant it had moved in. And now it was looking for a place to stay. Rowan woke to the sound of knocking. Not the door, the closet. He lay still, breath held. The sound came again. Tap, tap, tap. tap. He sat up. Maren? Silence. He stood, the floorboards creaking beneath his feet. The closet door was cracked open an inch. Inside, only darkness. Rowan's heart hammered. He grabbed his desk lamp and swung the beam into the gap. Nothing, just clothes. He exhaled, then froze. A faint outline moved at the back of the closet. His own silhouette, but deeper, denser, like smoke trying to mimic a person. It smiled. Rowan stumbled back, tripping over his chair. The lamp clattered to the floor and went out. The room plunged into black. Then a whisper. "You brought me home." Morning came, thin and gray. Rowan looked awful pale, eyes hollow, like he hadn't slept in days. Maren found him sitting on the curb outside his house, hoodie pulled tight, staring at his own shadow. "You look like hell," she said softly. He didn't look up. Heard bells all night, thought I was dreaming. But they ring in the dark like they're under the bed. "Rowan," he cut her off. "It talks now, says my name. Sometimes I think it sounds like me." Maren crouched down beside him. "That thing it's feeding off fear? That's how it stays?" He gave a hollow laugh. "Then I'm dinner." They went to see Eloy at the library, where he'd barricaded himself with research. The tables were covered in printouts, police reports, local legends, half-burned photos of the old Crow House. He barely looked up when they entered. "You two shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Maren said. Eloy gestured to a stack of papers. "I found something. The bell wasn't made by Crow. It was made for him." Rowan frowned. "By who?" Eloy slid over a photocopy, an old church record from 1889. Commissioned the House of St. Junia. Purpose, binding bell used to seal a door between the living and the hallowed. Maren blinked. "Junia? Like Junia Quill?" "My great-grandmother," she whispered. "The woman who built this town's first chapel." Eloy nodded grimly. If the bell was meant to seal something and it got destroyed, maybe what it sealed is what we've been calling the sweet. Rowan stood still for a long time. Then, "It's not haunting us. We let it out." The overhead lights flickered. A faint hum built in the air, the kind that made your teeth ache. Eloy whispered, "Do you hear that?" A low-toned ding, then another. Dong. Rowan's eyes went glassy. He stood up, slow and strange, like his limbs were heavy. "Rowan?" Maren said. He turned toward her, smiling a smile that wasn't his. "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." The voice came from his mouth, but it wasn't his. It was layered like dozens of voices echoing through him. Eloy grabbed his camera instinctively, raising it, but when the flash went off, the image that appeared on the preview screen wasn't Rowan at all. It was a figure of pure black, faceless, standing where Rowan stood, a bell gleaming faintly inside its chest. The lights went out. Maren screamed his name. "Rowan!" When the lights flicked back, he was on the floor, gasping, his nose bleeding. He blinked rapidly, confused. What would happen? Eloy's hands shook. "It tried to use you. Maybe it's inside the reflection anywhere there's a shadow. You've got to stay in light." Maren grabbed a flashlight from the table and pressed it into his hands. "Don't turn it off." That night, Rowan sat in his room with every light on. Desk lamp, overhead, flashlight clutched in his fist. He could still feel it, just outside the circle of light waiting. He turned his head toward the wall, and for a moment he swore he saw his shadow move before he did. It turned, slow, deliberate, then smiled again. Across town, the church bell at St. Junia's rang once, even though the tower had been empty for 50 years. Maren sat upright in bed, heart pounding. Outside her window, faint and far away, came the echo of a voice carried on the wind. "You brought me home." And then, ding-dong. Chapter 11. It started with one repost. Eloy didn't even know how it happened. His channel had been offline, his account deleted after the Rowan incident. But at 2:37 a.m., Urban Legends Unboxed went live again. The thumbnail was black. The title read, "The Sweet Returns #Shadow Sweet Challenge. Real footage." The video auto-played in feeds across 3 different platforms. Within hours, the hashtag trended. By dawn, the sound that ding-dong chime had become a meme. But the audio wasn't normal. People swore the tone changed each time it played. Some said they could hear their name whispered beneath the bells. And by morning, 3 kids were missing. Maren woke to her phone buzzing nonstop. Mentions, notifications, the challenge back from the dead. She opened a video out of reflex, a shaky clip filmed by some middle schoolers laughing outside a house. Trick or treat, shadow sweet. They rang the bell. The camera glitched. When the frame cleared, the door had opened just a few inches. No one was there. Only a long shadow stretching out from the doorway, reaching toward them. The video cut. Her stomach turned cold. She called Eloy. "Tell me you're seeing this." He answered instantly, breathless. "Maren, don't say it out loud. I think it listens through the audio." "What?" "I ran the waveform from the viral clip. There's data encoded under the bell sound, like metadata, but alive. Every time it's uploaded, it rewrites itself. It's using our posts like veins." "Eloy, you're saying it's spreading." "I'm saying the suite figured out how to use Wi-Fi." Officer Teller had been up since dawn. He'd gotten calls teenagers missing, doors left open, parents finding candy wrappers that weren't theirs. When Maren showed up at the station, he already knew why. "You've seen it, huh?" he said. His eyes were bloodshot. His badge turned upside down on the desk, a quiet superstition he'd picked up somewhere. She nodded. "It's everywhere. It's not just a story anymore." Teller leaned back, rubbing his jaw. "You think I didn't warn you? The suite's not a ghost, it's a parasite. It doesn't need to kill to live. It just needs audience." Maren slammed her hand on his desk. "Then how do we stop it?" He stared at her for a long time. "You don't stop a story, Maren. You end it." Eloy joined them minutes later, laptop under his arm. He spun it around to show the live map dots spreading across the country. Each red pulse was a new upload. Every ring, every share, every retelling, it's like feeding it sugar, he said. The more people watch, the more it manifests. The suite wants to be seen. That's how it moves. "So if we delete the videos?" Maren asked. Eloy shook his head. "Too late. It's mirrored, archived, remixed. It's everywhere. But if the curse started somewhere, it can end there too." Teller's gaze hardened. "You mean the house?" Maren nodded. "The first one? The one from the challenge?" Teller looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 seconds. "You go back there. You'll never walk out." "I already brought it home," she said quietly. "If someone has to answer it, it should be me." The air outside felt wrong that night. Too still, too heavy. Maren and Eloy walked through the fog-thick streets of Eldritch Lane, every porch lit orange with leftover Halloween bulbs. Plastic skeletons twisted in the breeze. They passed a house where a TV flickered behind the curtains, playing one of the challenge videos on loop. "People think it's just content," Eloy muttered. "We turned fear into a filter." Maren looked straight ahead. "Then we'll turn it off." They reached the cul-de-sac. The sweet house. All the other homes looked normal trimmed lawns, cars and driveways, but the one at the center sat quiet and wrong, as if it were holding its breath. The porch light was out. The air smelled faintly of burnt sugar. "Stay here," Maren said. Eloy grabbed her sleeve. "No. If you go in there—" She pulled free. "It's already taken Junia. It's inside Rowan. It's in our feeds. I have to finish this." Teller's voice came from behind them, sharp and low. "You can't end something that feeds on endings." They turned. He was standing at the edge of the fog, flashlight in hand, gun holstered but ready. "Teller," Maren said. "If I don't go, more kids disappear." He stepped closer, his boots crunching gravel. "Listen to me. Once it answers the door, you can't leave. You'll ring that bell and you'll think it's over, but it'll ring back." She met his eyes. "Then I won't knock. I'll open." They stood there, the 3 of them, staring at that silent porch. Eloy's phone buzzed a notification from his own channel. "It's live again," he whispered. "Someone's streaming from inside." The screen showed the dark entryway of the sweet house empty, save for faint shapes moving along the walls. Then the camera turned, as if something had noticed them. The feed cut. Maren took one step forward, then another. The others called after her, but she didn't stop. At the edge of the walkway, she whispered under her breath the phrase that started it all. Trick or treat, shadow sweet. The doorbell chimed low, metallic, familiar, and the porch light flickered on. Behind her, Eloy shouted, "Maren, don't!" But it was too late. The house exhaled. The air rippled, and for an instant the walls seemed to breathe every doorbell from the old house of bells ringing faintly in unison. Somewhere in the static between them, a voice whispered, "Welcome home." The video of Maren walking up those steps was the last post uploaded to Urban Legends Unboxed. By morning, the clip had hit 2 million views. And every time someone pressed play, the first second glitched, showing a porch light turning on and a dark silhouette waiting just behind the door. Chapter 12. Eldritch Lane was silent again. The fog had returned thicker than before, swallowing fences, muffling sound. Streetlights bled in halos. Maren Quill walked alone. Her breath made clouds in the cold. The phone in her pocket was dead, or maybe she'd turned it off. She couldn't remember anymore. The world had started to feel like a buffering video, jittery, skipping frames. Every few steps, she thought she heard footsteps behind her. She didn't look back. The cul-de-sac appeared slowly, like a photograph developing in the dark. The sweet house sat at the center, the only structure untouched by time. Its paint was faded, but the porch light, the one that hadn't worked in years, was glowing. She stopped at the curb. The air smelled of burnt sugar, exactly like Teller said it would. Maren whispered, "Okay?" She took one step forward. The world felt like it was holding its breath. At her back, the neighborhood slept. Inside, no lights flicked on. No dogs barked. It was like Eldritch Lane had been erased from the map the moment she turned onto it. As she walked, her shoes crunched faint candy wrappers scattered across the sidewalk, black and orange foil, glimmering faintly in the mist. Each one was printed with the same phrase, "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." On the porch, she hesitated. The doorbell button gleamed faintly. In the faint reflection of the brass, she saw her own outline, but just slightly behind it. Another shape leaned closer, taller, stretching like smoke. Maren reached into her pocket and pulled out Eloy's old camera. It still worked. She flipped it on, pointed it at the door, and whispered, "For the record." The red light blinked. A voice came from behind her, low, tired. "You don't have to do this." She turned. Teller stood at the bottom of the steps, flashlight beam cutting through the fog. He looked older than ever, the kind of tired that comes from losing too many Halloweens. "Where's Aloy?" she asked. "Gone," Teller said quietly. "Feed's been looping since last night. Might have been taken through the stream." Maren swallowed. "Then it's just me." Teller shook his head. "You ring that bell, you'll open a door no one can close." She looked at him, eyes wet. "Then I'll stand in it." The porch boards creaked beneath her shoes. She raised her hand. Paused. The bell gleamed faintly, as if lit from within. Her reflection warped in it, her face stretched, hollowed, eyes black. She whispered almost tenderly, "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." The doorbell chimed. Ding dong. The sound rippled through the fog. Lights flickered across Eldritch Lane, every house, every window. Screens blinked awake, TVs, phones, tablets, all lighting up with the same image. Maren on the porch, seen from some unseen perspective. People watching from their beds saw it live, a girl framed by a doorway that breathed like lungs, and then they saw her shadow move first. Inside the house, something stirred. The boards shifted. The air shuddered. 3 knocks came not from her hand, but from within the house. Knock, knock, knock. Maren froze, her breath hitched. "Teller?" she whispered. But he was gone. The fog where he'd stood was empty. Only the echo of his warning remained in her head. "Once it answers the door, you can't leave." The knocks came again, softer now, almost polite. Then, from behind the door, her voice said, "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." The doorknob turned. Slowly. Deliberately. The air thickened, cold, rolling down her spine like ice water. Maren took one step back, camera shaking in her hands. "Who's there?" she whispered. The door creaked open. Just an inch. Then another. Inside was darkness. Not the kind that comes from no light, the kind that eats light. Her flashlight beam bent inward, swallowed whole. From that void, a shape began to form smoke, condensing into limbs, into a face that looked almost like hers. The same eyes, the same mouth, but the smile wrong. "You told my story," it said. "Now I wear your name." Maren's knees buckled. The camera fell to the floor, still recording. The lens caught her silhouette, and its mirror image meeting at the threshold like two halves completing a shadow. "You brought me home." The porch light flickered violently. The air crackled. Somewhere far away, every phone in town rang at once. Maren reached out, trembling, toward the door, maybe to shut it, maybe to hold it open. She whispered one last time, through tears and static, "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." The door opened wide, and the light went out. Recording ends. No one found the camera. But the footage surfaced a week later, uploaded automatically to Eloy's dormant channel. The title: The Knock Final Entry. Chapter 13. Eloy hasn't slept in days. His room hums with a low electric pulse routers, monitors, cameras all watching, all blinking in restless rhythm. The walls feel too close, his reflection in the black monitor glass, too dark. It's been a week since Maren went back to the cul-de-sac. A week since the house lit up one final time on his phone's live feed before the signal melted into static. The footage never uploaded, but he saw enough the porch light, the smoke, the way her shadow stretched toward the door like it wanted to go home. Now Urban Legends Unboxed is alive again, without him. Clips keep posting. Low-res, grainy, night vision stills of front doors, flickering porch lights, children's laughter slowed into an animal rasp. Every video ends the same way, the faint ding-dong of a doorbell, followed by the words whispered in a dozen distorted voices. "Trick or treat, shadow sweet." The comments explode faster than he can delete them. Is this ARG real? What happened to Maren Quill? Anyone else see the reflection blink? He stops checking after the fifth one that tags him directly. "Ed Eloy Finch, come back to the house." Officer Teller is gone too. His voicemail plays a recorded message, then a burst of feedback, a knock 3 times, faint but clear. Eloy turns the camera back on anyway. It's what he does when the world stops making sense. Record, document, pretend the red light is a lifeline. The stream goes live, though he doesn't remember hitting start. The chat explodes instantly. "Live Urban Legends Unboxed. Shadow Sweet Finale. Bro, he's actually streaming again. Look behind ya. Doorbell. Listen." He adjusts the mic. The sound hisses, breathy, like something's breathing too close. "I don't know what's real anymore," Eloy mutters. "But if anyone's watching, don't play it. Don't say the words, don't..." The feed stutters. His own voice repeats, echoing through the speakers. "Don't say the words. Don't say the words. Don't say..." He freezes. The camera flickers. Behind him, the hallway light turns on by itself. A warm, syrupy glow fills the frame. The door at the end of the hall stands open just a crack. He whispers, "Maren?" The chat explodes again. Something moved. Doors opening. It's her. The microphone picks up a faint creak. 3 soft knocks echo from somewhere off screen. Knock. 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 The same rhythm that haunted the recordings, the same sound from Teller's voicemail, the same that started it all. He stands slowly, the camera still rolling. His hand shakes as he walks toward the door. "Maren?" he says again. But it's quieter now, like saying her name invites something that isn't her. The knocking stops. The silence hums. Then from the speakers comes her voice. Soft, flat, perfectly clear. "Aloy, it's me. You left the door unlocked." The viewers spam the chat. "Don't open it. It's not her. Bro, get out." He reaches the knob. The air feels wrong, too sweet, like burnt sugar and dust. His phone vibrates in his pocket. A new email. From thesweet@nightmail.com. Subject, feed the dark. Body, tell the story. The screen flickers again. His camera view splits, one window showing his back at the door, the other a night vision feed from outside, someone standing on his porch. A tall figure, still as a photograph. Its edges blur, pixels bleeding into shadow. "Trick or treat?" a voice whispers through both feeds at once. He steps back, trembling. This isn't real. But the stream chat floods faster. Thousands of viewers watching, recording, sharing. Each second, another phone lights up across the world. The doorbell rings. That same soft, cheerful chime. He screams, "Stop watching!" But it's too late. The light flickers, the stream lagging as though every camera in every room has turned on. His reflection in the window smiles before he does. Then the silhouette moves. It leans close to the lens, filling the frame. No face, no eyes, just an endless shadow shaped almost like a person. The chat freezes, the sound distorts. "Trick or treat," it whispers again. "Shadow sweet." The feed cuts to static. For a long moment, there's nothing but silence and digital snow. Then, faintly, the sound returns. The doorbell again. Over and over looping. A hand appears in the last second of the corrupted video, pressed against the camera. The skin too dark, like shadow made solid. The feed ends. But the chime keeps playing. Epilogue on-screen text. Glitched over black. "Trick or treat? Shadow sweet? Don't answer the doorbell."
Thanks for listening. Stay cozy, and I'll see you in the next story.